Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn and our video for today. Well, it has begun. It is the season, sort of a fifth season. We talk about fall and summer and spring and winter, but this is voting season, right? So it is time when you see a lot of advertisements and a lot of people talking about voting, right? Just like this gentleman here is doing. So some of you will do this, some of you maybe in the next year or so will be able to do this, some of you might have a while. But what does it mean? What is voting? We're going to look at that briefly here, right? What does it mean to vote? The verb? Well, simply, right? Let's imagine a group of friends here, right? The three of them are visiting a city. They are visiting perhaps New York City. And they're having a conversation. They just arrived at the train station. And the man here says, I vote we eat first. And then the lady here in the middle, she says, I vote we shop first. And then the third man over here on the right, he says, I vote we figure out how to get out of this train station first, right? So he's saying a little joke. All of them, in giving their opinion, their idea about what they should do first in New York City, are voting. And we do this sometimes. I vote we have hamburger for dinner, or I vote we have pizza for dinner, right? So we use that expression, I vote. So this is my idea, this is my opinion, I am voting for this. Now, that's not what the first picture was, and that's not what we normally think about, right? We think about something else. But let's talk about first who can vote, right? In the United States, you must be a citizen, right? So if you are new to the country, that usually means 5 years, unless you are married to an American citizen, right? Then it could mean 3 years, right? So you must be a citizen. You must be 18 years old, right? So by a certain time, you must be 18, right? And that's all specified in the rules for voting. You must also register, again, by a deadline, right? Depending on the state, depending on whatever, wherever you're voting, they will tell you the deadline. You must register to vote by this day. Also depends sort of on the kind of voting, if you're mailing in your vote or if you're voting from overseas, from another country. A ballot, then, might look something like this if you are in a place where they are still using paper ballots. You can see this is for the Commonwealth of Virginia, so the state of Virginia gives some directions. And you can see governor, lieutenant governor, member of the House of Delegates, commissioner, treasurer. These are all the different categories you are voting in, and the people in each category, right, who you are voting for. This is the ballot, right? The ballot is the piece of paper or the electronic version of all of the things and people you are voting on. That is your ballot. Another name for when we vote is a poll, right? And you might use this in other ways, to take a poll, right? Your teacher, your professor, someone might say, I'd like to take a poll of the class. Who has ever? And then the teacher asks a question, right? Another way to think about it is a survey, right? And really that's what voting is. It's surveying, polling all of the citizens who are 18, who are registered by the time they can vote, to see what their idea is, what their opinion for different things is. So the place you are voting here, we call a polling place. Now, what that means really is it's a temporary place. I don't know that there's any permanent polling places. Uh, Polling places are often community centers or churches or mosques or synagogues. Uh, Possibly some schools could be polling places. Really, any place in the community or the neighborhood where people can easily go to vote, right, in the election or whatever they are voting on. Right? So this is called a polling place. And you can see the people waiting perhaps to get in to vote. So what do U.S. citizens vote on? Well, the number one thing people think of is the president, right? That's perhaps the greatest thing that people think when they think of voting. that they can vote on, the president, right? Because really, it's sort of the highest level of voting that you are doing, the leader of a country, right? When we are voting, right, on people, we specifically call that an election, right? And there's a lot of stuff that happens before the election. The debates, as you might have seen, there are speeches that people give throughout the country, right? And then there's a process that leads up to the election, even before the speeches, right, and the debates. So one of the things we vote on are political leaders, politicians. Another thing we might vote on, right, are things related to taxes, for example, or budgets. And you'll see perhaps a lot of signs that talk about vote yes or vote no for different school levies. These are called levies, Levy. And a levy is a proposed taxing, right? People pay more money in different situations to support their schools, right? Okay. This one here, right, we will see in a second, is usually local, right? A local issue. So this one is related to the country, and this one's related perhaps to your city or school district. The third thing, right, are things called ballot measures, right? And you can see here, this is one particular ballot measure, right? It has a special referendum on House Bill 2391. And they tell you, yes, a yes vote keeps the law the same, a no vote repeals part of the law. Repeal is to take back or get rid of. And I have a website here. We'll go check out this website. I have it at the end as well in our links. So Ballotpedia, this has all the 2020 ballot measures, and you can read about it. And if you go down, there's a little chart down here, right? And they give you the different ballots and what they are about, right? So if we go here, California Proposition 21, local rent control, tells you what it means if you vote yes. It tells you what it means if you vote no. Gives you a synopsis or overview of the measure. And then it talks a little bit more about it. So you have all of the detail you need for voting on that particular ballot measure. The ballot measures then are taken up by other people, politicians, and they may or may not be turned into law, or a law might be changed, as in this case, right? So this is the way in the United States that we deal with laws, right? U.S. citizens do not, as far as I know, vote directly on laws. We vote on the issues of the laws, and then the politicians sort of take it from there. Again, some things are federal, right? So the election of the president, some ballot measures could be federal. There's a lot of voting also on local issues, right? Even things like senators and governors, which are sort of federal and local, right? They're for your state, but they work with the federal government. People also vote on mayors, and they vote on even school board leaders and the school board, right? So there could be many local things for your city, county, or school district that you are voting on. Here you can see there are 5 people voting. You can see you're missing the P, but this is the polling place. And what is the verb that we use when we vote, right? To vote is the verb, right? But we can also use vote as a noun, right? What do I do with my vote, right? That's the noun. Well, I cast my vote, right? Cast my vote. Now, the other time really that we use the verb cast is when we're talking about fishing. And you can sort of put these two together, right? My fishing pole. If I cast the line, I throw the line out into the water to catch a fish, right? Well, in the same way, when we take our ballot and we punch the hole or hit the button on the electronic ballot, I vote for this person, and I vote yes for the school levy, right? I am throwing basically my ideas, my opinion, right, to the people who are collecting all that information, right? So you can see how you're sort of throwing in your idea, casting. So these citizens are casting their votes. That is what they are doing right now. So let's go back to 1963, a long time ago for some people. Lyndon B. Johnson, here, He is the Democratic representative, presidential candidate, and Barry Goldwater, the Republican. Right? These are the two people being voted on at that time. Now the question is do citizens in the U.S. vote directly on the president? Right? Well, no. Right is the answer, and for many people, it's sadly no. Right? There are some states working to change this, but we have a sort of a complicated system for voting on the president. This vote, the vote actually of the citizens for president, is called the popular vote, right? The popular vote. Our system, however, is based on something called the Electoral College. And if you see, each state has a different number. These are the electors. And we do vote on the electors, right? So we choose them. You can see Ohio has 18 here, right? This is based on the population. So any of these really small numbers, you know the population is considerably small, right? These electors then, theoretically looking at the popular vote for their state, vote themselves on who they want to be president. Now, there have been 5 situations, 5 times in the history of the country where this has not been an agreement. The popular vote was for one candidate, the electoral vote was for another, right? And the person who becomes president is the person the Electoral College, the electors, vote on, not the actual citizens, right? So a little more complicated and a little not as direct as other countries or other instances in history of democracy, for example. Here are some links, right? This one is all about the history, sort of voting for the government. Here we also have a little bit more other things that we vote on, right? Not just the president. And then this is the link that I showed with the ballot measures. You can check it out and see what else is on there to vote for. What law-related things can you vote on, and what do they mean? I hope this was helpful and interesting. Get out there and vote if you are registered, if you are a citizen, and you are 18. Right? It is your amazing right to be able to do that. Thank you, and have a great day.